One of the most important tasks for any company is generating qualified leads to support growth and sustain revenue in their business. And there are multiple ways that a business can accomplish this task, but there are two things we strongly believe. And the first thing is businesses should have at least 3 lead generation methods that they're working consistently throughout the year. And number 2, those methods need to align with their business model, skill set, and how they naturally operate. For example, lawn signs can work extremely well for certain businesses, but most people probably are not going to choose their next financial advisor or their lawyer from a lawn sign. Cold calling and door knocking can also be very effective strategies, but not everyone has the skill set nor the desire to succeed in those environments. Today, we're going to talk about and discuss a powerful form of lead generation, and that is with networking. And even in this digital first world, referrals and trusted relationships remain one of the highest converting ways to grow business within organizations. Many years ago, I had the opportunity to work with one of the leading networking minds in this country, and she taught me something I always utilize. And she said, effective networking is not just about collecting business cards or contacts. It's about building trust and relationships consistently over time. And that philosophy has benefited my businesses in many ways. So if we're going to talk about networking, then we need to go to the experts in this industry. So Business Networking International, or BNI, was founded in 1985 and has spent more than 40 years helping businesses grow through referral networking. Now, BNI has over 340,000 members across more than 11,000 chapters and in 76 countries worldwide. And in the last 12 months alone, members have passed more than 17 million referrals, generating over $26 billion in referred business globally, and that's billion with a B. Now, to put that in perspective, it takes approximately $7.4 billion in annual revenue to make the cut on the Fortune 500. So that's getting it done. And what helps drive that BNI engine are passionate leaders like Corey Kellogg. And Corey is one of the senior area directors for BNI. And today, we're really excited to discuss how referral networking and relationship building can help you grow your business. So Corey, welcome to the Business Moves Blueprint.
Thank you.
So to start off with, about 4 or 5 years ago was when I first actually, I believe, met you. And at the time, you had a marketing business. So tell us a little bit about what were you doing in marketing at the time?
So it comes naturally, my marketing background, but I started just kind of a freelance marketing company. I really specialize in like website copy, so more copywriting. And I partnered with a local agency in the Charlotte area to do like some white label work. So that's when we first met, and you graced me with your presence.
Okay, great. But obviously, you were a member of BNI at that time, but what made you join BNI? Because there has to be a reason. We all talk about growing a business. What drew you to BNI at that time?
So I was just talking about people I was wanting to get kind of in front of, because at the time I did radio sales. So
Mm.
not an on-air personality, but I did sales for radio. And so he said, "You need to come to my networking group." And I had never heard of BNI. So I said, "Well, tell me what it's about." He goes, "Oh, you just, kind of meet some people." So I really didn't have a concept of what to expect or what it was. But after my first meeting, I was like, this is it. This is a better way to do business. It's much more effective. And I really learned, like in our first conversation, he said, "Well, how can I help you?" And I remember my response was, "Help me
Mm.
do what?" And he said, "Help you grow your business." I said, "Why do you want to help me grow my business?" So to everyone, that's not, commonplace. I was just surprised. And I'm like, "Well, we kind of know each other, professionally, but why do you want to help me grow?" And he's like, "Yeah, the networking group I'm in, we really focus on helping others." And it was just like, I hadn't heard that. Usually it's people trying to sell me things.
It's interesting, and I actually want to dive into that a little bit later because that's something that's interesting about the organization. But at some point, you decided to put the marketing down for a second and move into leadership. What are your roles and responsibilities now in the role that you have?
On a daily basis, it's more, I'm responsible for for growing new chapters. So the Charlotte area, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the population statistics, but we have
Yeah.
more than 100 people every single day coming into the Charlotte region. And usually when people, they hear about BNI, if they are in real estate, mortgage, insurance, or financial, then they know it's hard. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to find a chapter. So I'm also responsible for launching new chapters. So I have about 15 areas in the Charlotte region identified for growing new chapters, and then also I work on kind of visit helping chapters with visitor days, with growth events, and then I have a team of support director consultants that also help. Our goal is we're member led organization, so my goal is to make sure our members are getting the maximum benefit of their BNI membership.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, you mentioned cold call. Well, I like to say that BNI is the cure for the common cold call because, like you said, not everyone likes to do it. It takes a certain talent to do cold calls. I did lots of those in college. And if I don't have to do it, that is perfectly fine with me. So my day to day is really checking in with my team and supporting our chapters if they need something, specific. They have a growth event, and I do lots of training for our new chapter. So when we launch a new chapter, we have to train them just to make sure that they're again maximizing their BNI membership.
So let's talk about BNI in general, because I know I'm fascinated by, believe it or not, core values and things like that for an organization. I have my own core values for my organizations, which I think are important. But two of which for you are of course, givers gain, but also building relationships. So tell me how that's important for the organization, but also for members coming in to the organization to adhere to those two important core values.
Well, just like you said, it goes back to kind of my initial story about being honest when I was asked, how can I help you? And my initial response was, help me what? Like, what are you talking about? And that is what BNI is about. It's yes, we know our business will grow, but we do it by helping our business grows because we're helping other people grow their business naturally. If someone gives you a referral and it's business, your instinct is, well, what can I do for you? How can I help you? But with BNI, we lead with the how can I help you grow your business? I kind of look at it as kind of a waiter like mentality, whereas
Mm-hmm.
sometimes some networking, it's you leave with a stack of cards and you know what happens. They go on your desk somewhere and maybe you follow up or maybe you don't. All of a sudden you're on someone's list that you didn't request to be added to and you're getting their weekly emails. But with BNI, it's how can I help you grow? What do you need? What are your goals? How can I help you get there? I'm not necessarily worried about my business. I know it'll come back, but we lead with giver's gain, which is the law of reciprocity. So it's what can I do to help you? I know it'll come back to me, but I'll start with leading first instead of expecting,
You
which is
know,
which is very different.
it's interesting. So when I started my businesses years ago, I started off putting together an org chart. So I started a company in February, and then in April I launched a different company. So at the time I put together my org chart, my reasoning around that was, although I only have one client, and it's me and this big business and one client. If I look 5, 10 years down the road, I'm not going to have one client if I do this right. So I wanted to put together a structure that could manage and scale up and handle when I have 100 clients, right? If I
Mhm.
think about it, constructing the business today and then it grows, then I need to start adding pieces and I wouldn't know if it actually worked. So I put that together. But this is the thing that I found out when I started doing that, because I put together all these blocks and I'm the president and I'm the sales director and I'm the, recruiter and one of the blocks said marketing.
Mhm.
And I realized I don't like marketing. Like I really don't like marketing, but
Mhm.
even if you don't like it, if you're running a business, it has to be done. And I
Yes.
remember I went to a training that you had, and you stated, see, I listened to you, Corey, and you stated at the training that if you're starting a business and your marketing should be about 20 to 30% of your time should be spent on marketing. And I realized that I wasn't, but it was probably because I don't like marketing. And so that helped me to realize that some of these blocks I don't like, but I have to do them.
Mhm.
Long story short, so I know you have the marketing skill. Do you use marketing in your role now? How does that come into play in what you do now?
Yes. Well, BNI is a form of marketing. So many people view, they might say, oh, I'm going to a networking event. I'm going to a networking group. And maybe I call it like random acts of networking where we're just kind of talking around. Maybe you'll meet a few people. Like I said, leave with a stack of cards. But the difference in what really sets BNI apart is it's a part of your marketing strategy. But yes, correct. According to Forbes and Small Business Administration, 20% of your time should be spent marketing your business, no matter what avenue, and about
Mm-hmm.
5 to 12% of your gross annual revenue. So when I tell people, people say, well, why is there a charge for being on? I said, well, what marketing do you get for free? Like, help me understand. Because again, as a marketer, what marketing are you've obviously never done a Google ad or had a pay per click or anything like that. But BNI is a part of your marketing strategy because it is referral based. So we have an app, you can track your referrals, you track your ROI, you see what you've given as well. Again, we lead with the giving, but the other part, and you mentioned it, one of our core values is building relationships. So the way we build relationships is we have weekly meetings. We get to know, like, and trust each other. If I see you every week, besides my family, like you're up there on we get really get to know each other. And the way we do that is by having our weekly meetings. We have what we call one-to-ones, and a one-to-one is not just you tell me, let me tell you all about me and how you can help me. Nope. It's, I want to hear about your business. Tell me your goals. How can I help you reach whatever your, what are your Q2 or Q3 goals and how can I help you get there? And then vice versa. So it's really about the building the relationships, but the whole point is it should lead to referrals. So it's not, we like to say BNI is not a social organization. Yes, you get to know people on a personal level. You might get to know their family, but make no mistake about it. It is a marketing strategy. And so, as a part of your marketing, I like to say it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like you're putting in the time, you're attending weekly meetings, you're having one to ones. And I've seen some different organizations that said, well, BNI is more structured. Well, it is more structured. Accountability is another one of those core values. You left that one out. Accountability.
Mm.
And the reason we have that is you agreed when you joined BNI to help each other grow. Again, it's not social based. It's about referrals. You should be able to track your ROI. Our average ROI is 63 to 70%. So if you're not reaching that, then that's when we, try to make sure that you're getting your maximum benefit.
So don't yell at me, Corey, but um, years ago, I actually attended a meeting from an organization that was, I'm going to say, kind of a competitor
Okay.
um, of BNI. And you mentioned the structure of the organization. So tell me why, when you look at BNI as opposed to maybe a competition, where do you see the value in actually coming to really the originator in BNI?
So when you look at, I always say imitation is the best form of flattery, right? So you look at why is there a weekly meeting? Because I've heard, well, matter of fact, not even heard. I said it myself when I was first invited to a meeting. I said, "Oh, every week is a bit much." I remember those words coming out of my mouth. And then once I joined, I'm like, "Oh, I see." Because guess what? If I'm missing meetings, I'm not getting as many referrals. I'm also not hearing how I can help everyone else in my chapter, so I'm not giving either. And so we have in our 42 years, we've done so much research on, okay, should we have a weekly meeting? Should it be once a month? Should it be every other week? And always, hands down, every time you get more referrals, you give more business, receive more business when you have a weekly cadence. And so I feel like that differentiates BNI. We are industry exclusive. So that way your competitor might visit, but they can't join the chapter. So if you're the mortgage seat, or if you're the plumber in the chapter or the estate planning attorney, then that's your seat in that chapter. But again, the focus is building relationships, because it's not necessarily, well, let me sell to the people in my chapter. It's no, let them get to know me. Every week I educate them on what's a good referral for me, who's my ideal referral partner. And now I just have an extension of my sales team. So instead of me being a solopreneur or maybe a team of 3 to 10 or to 20, now I've just 30x my sales team, because I've educated my entire chapter on what I need. And now they're out looking to help me grow my business. So it's a very effective, again, it's marketing. It's a very effective marketing tool. To me, that is really low investment. The more investment is your time, but that's how you get more. That's how you build relationships, is the time and really getting to know someone. I like to say most people, some don't get married on their first date. So usually it's the let me get to know you. So with BNI, it's we get to build a relationship, but know that it's the first level, second level, third level referrals that I tell my neighbor tells their neighbor and tells their friend, and it just keeps coming back because you can stand behind the quality of that person and their work.
It's interesting. So I don't think I thought of it as part of your marketing budget, which obviously it is. Um, so if it is part of your marketing budget, then you want to make sure you're maximizing the efforts and getting the fruits of that budget and that money you're putting into it. So tell me some of the things that you should be doing if you're putting this money in. What should you be doing to make sure that you're maximizing the rewards from your membership?
I would say be intentional with your networking. So if you are going to an event, like I said, I'm a chamber ambassador with the Charlotte area chamber. I love the Charlotte chamber. But tell people, like, when you go to a ribbon cutting, if you're just, walking around the room, maybe talking to, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 people, maybe try to laser focus that in. Look at the list before the meeting. Is there an industry? Is there a company that you see that's said they're attending that you want to be intentional about introducing yourself to? Can you provide value for them? What problem do you solve? Is that your ideal client? Then just kind of random, like I said, random acts of networking aren't really effective, because you'll just leave with cards that you won't follow up on,
Hmm.
or you'll get put on a list that you didn't request to be put on. And it was kind of a waste of your time. So whether it's BNI or not, just with any type of networking, be intentional, and having a 2-minute conversation with 50 people is a lot less effective than a good 10, 15-minute conversation with just a couple of people. So I like to say, instead of like a handful or a fistful of business cards, really focus on, I want to get to know you better. Let's schedule a time to have more conversation. I'm intrigued about your business, or feel like we can, both be successful, or maybe the product I offer would help you, or maybe I want to hear more about you because I feel like what you offer could help me. But being intentional with your conversations, I think gets us a lot further than just I showed up. I'm going to talk to as many people as I can and get as
Hmm.
many business cards in that hour, and then it goes nowhere.
Years ago, I was managing this program. It was a sales program, and individuals in the program were very, very young. They were coming out of college, 22. They were ready to go. And one of the things that we did is we wanted to make sure we prepared them for success. So we gave them an etiquette course. We partnered with the Charlotte Country Club, and we would go in and have a dinner, and they would give us a lesson on etiquette, which I learned a lot, which was interesting, but on how to dress, but
Mm,
also networking. And I remember one of the things that the woman said. She says, "Look, this is what I would recommend, because many of you are gonna go out networking and just grab a bunch of cards, and then the next day you're gonna look at the cards and not even remember who was what and who was." And I'm sitting there like, "Ooh, I'm guilty of that."
mhm.
I used to do that. And the thing that she stated was, if you do grab a card, write a note on it. Like, I met
Yeah.
Corey and this is what we discussed, and I need to connect with her on Thursday, which is hard to do now because now cards are different colors, so you can't even write on them no more. But
Or
the other thing
slip.
she said was or people don't even use cards anymore. They have like the things with the phone and all this other stuff.
Bling,
So,
and yeah.
or to bring a pad and just take notes. So I think it is important to be intentional, like you're saying. The intentionality of it is extremely important. Now you build crazy relationships. I don't know how, because I've been to events where you were, and I may know 7 people in the room, but you know 100 people in the room, and you like have a relationship with all 100. How do you do that? How do you manage that? That's crazy to me.
I like to say I am an active listener. So I want to provide value. If I'm visiting, because that's one part of my job is to network, let people know about BNI, amplify BNI in the community. But also when I visit chapters and our members, that's I feel like it's my duty, my obligation to the members is for me to intentionally listen for how can I help you because you're a member of the organization that I am employed by. And so my obligation is, well, what can I do for you? How can I help you? So I try to intently listen. And then I do have a gift of really great memory. I'm very thankful for that. And I try to tie it back. So it's, oh, hey, how was this? Or how did that work out? Or you need to, I heard you say in your meeting that you're looking for an electrical contractor. Let me introduce you to this person who just joined and they're an electrical, contractor. Or I listen and I hear a member say they're looking for a specific type of person. If I'm at a chamber event or just another networking event and I meet that person, oh, I have a wonderful person for you to connect with. And people remember that, they remember that
Mm,
you're purposely trying to help them. And so like that's my mission. I like to say I'm a connector. And so the way I can be, and you are, by the way, a great connector as well, Rashid, but it's listening and again, my word is intentional. That's been my word for like the last couple of years is to really do
yeah.
things with purpose, with the mission of I want to help you grow. I want to see you succeed.
Yeah. So the memory part I don't have, which I'm just in awe that you do. One of the things your team does well, and you just mentioned that is connect. And I've had several situations where I will talk to somebody on your team, and they say, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so," and then they'll bring us together and we have a conversation. And I remember one time they connected me with someone, and we started having a conversation, and she looked at me kind of strange, and I was like, "Okay, what did I do?" And she says, "You don't remember me, Rashid?" And I said, "No. Am I supposed to?" She said, "Yeah, you interviewed me like 2 years ago." I I did not remember interviewing her. And I was like, okay, she's not working with me. What happened? And so it was a good situation. It wasn't a bad. She actually started her own business, and that's why she's at BNI. So actually, it's a good thing. Um, Let's talk about the leads you get. So, for example, one of the things I mentioned in the intro was putting up lawn signs. And for one of my businesses, I do put up lawn signs. But unfortunately, if 15 people call, probably 12 of them are not ready to do business for one reason or another. But the 3 I get, I'm glad about that. Um, but the leads you get from BNI are probably not going to be, well, 12 out of 15 are not going to be good. So, talk about the importance of the qualified and the lead that you get and all of the things that really help BNI be who they are as an organization.
So I like to say that lead is a bad four-letter word. So
Mm.
with BNI, our goal is referrals. We are a referral-based organization. So what does that mean? It's not, hey, you just open your business. You should, here's an electrician because you might need some electricity in your building. It's, I'm having a conversation with you and you're saying, yes, we now are, we're trying to get up to code or we just, purchase a building. We need a great electrician. Oh, fantastic. Let me connect you. So now you have a desired need for the product or the service for the person that I am connecting you with. That's very different than a lead. I received a lead that was an 800 number one time, and I was like, what is this? This is trash. I can Google this. So it's specifically every single week, the member's job is to educate everyone else in the room on who they're looking for. And then it's every other member's role is to help them find that person. I recently had someone in a chat say, I am looking for, I believe she said the general manager of the Costco in Indian Land. And my first thought was, I didn't even know there was a Costco in Indian Land. But then I'm like, okay, who do I know in Indian Land that might know this general manager of this Costco? So that's what BNI is about. It's, hey, I'm looking to meet this particular person at this business, or I am looking specifically for, people that in this particular demographic or this particular neighborhood. So it's the role of each member to be very specific on who they're looking for. And then the goal is for every member to try to help them get there. So that to me is very different than just, oh, hey, they might need your service. That's not the definition of a referral is the person is looking for the service or the product that you have. So you're making that connection with someone that's actually looking for it.
The good thing is I have a business that's not very frequented to BNI, so my business is kind of an anomaly. But that actually goes, of course, to my benefit. I got a call from somebody from Hawaii, and she calls me up and says, "Rashid, I need help. I need help for my daughter, and I know you're in BNI, so I could trust you." And she became my client. Very nice lady. So those are great stories. But can you think of like a transformational story or success story from somebody in BNI that came in and then all of a sudden they're like, look at my business now?
Oh, definitely. So many come to mind. Um, This has been, I want to say it was around 7 years ago. We had an attorney. I recruited her, and she's estate planning, and she
Mm,
was just by herself, just by herself. And she joined the chapter that I was president of, and within 4 years, she had grown her practice so much that the issue with BNI, or what we hear sometimes is, "Oh, I've gotten so much business from BNI, I don't have time for BNI anymore." I said, well, what you have to do is scale your business and grow, so that you're no longer necessarily working in your business, but you're working more on your business. And so she now has 4 offices throughout the Charlotte
wow.
region. And she attributes, I literally just saw her last week, and she attributes so much to BNI. She said, not just the referrals, but even just the business kind of acumen. I'm in the room with business owners that have been through all of the growing pains that I'm experiencing, and I can receive mentorship, or I can hear, "Oh, don't do this, like, tax-wise. You don't wanna do that." Like, the advice, that she says she received just helped her so much as a business owner when she was ready to scale, talking to other business owners that had already done it, like, ahead of her, and could really give her that guidance. So she was like, "It's the intangibles also that we don't really talk about as much that were just game changing for her." So that's a story that pops up quickly because I just saw her last week, probably.
Real, the thing that I love about her story is that she stayed because there are individuals that their business takes off and they leave.
Mhm.
And I've seen that a few times, but she actually stayed and actually grew different locations. Wow, that's
Yep,
amazing.
it is.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, tell me why. We have some 19, 20-year members just in the Charlotte
Mhm.
area, that I literally had a member say, "Even when I die, I have my subs lined up." I was like, "Well, if only it worked that way." But they were like, "I'm never leaving because of the continuous revenue stream." And that's also a thing with BNI, especially like in our trades. I'll hear some of the folks say, "Well, we're booked out 3, 6 months on jobs." And I say, okay, well, what's your long term plan? What's your 9 month? What's your 12 month? Because once this job is done, how are you going to keep your guys working? How are you going to keep trucks on the road? You need to look at filling your pipeline so that's continuous source of jobs, not just, I'm really busy right now, but what happens, after that? And that's where that we get so much value. And you asked earlier about what really sets BNI apart. That was a perfect example. You're Hawaii. You get referrals. We're in 76 countries. So the amount of people that are moving here, even though the world is so vast, it can be so small. And you just don't know who has, if you have business that's maybe even local to the area, but in your case, you can do business anywhere, then you're now in the trusted network. I've had members say, just like you said, well, you're in BNI, so I know you're vetted. I know you're trusted. I'm comfortable sending you my referral. I don't need to like necessarily go look up your reviews or things like
Mm,
that. I know you're a BNI member. I had a member in Charlotte. Her parents live in New Jersey and they're aging, and she said they needed some work done to their house. And she said, I really don't have capacity to get up there and supervise. So what she did is she went in the BNI app and she found a general contractor, she found a plumber, and she's like, I saw their picture, I saw testimonials. I instantly felt comfortable about them going into my parents' home that they wouldn't be taken advantage of. Whereas if I Googled someone, I would have that, worry, or are they really legit? Will they look out for them? Do I need to be there to supervise? She's like, I instantly felt at ease because I know they're a part of the BNI network.
yeah, and that's one thing that I think for me is a lot of value because when people ask me about, because people will ask, is it really going to get the value? And everybody talks about, you're going to get referrals, and I won't say leads no more because I don't like four-letter words, but you're going to get the referrals. But I think even more valuable is the fact that I just had my house painted last year, and I'm trying to find a painter and someone you could trust. I got a painter from BNI. They did a great job. I think I asked you about her, but anyway, I think I asked a few people about her, and they said you need to use her, and they did a great job. Actually, you could see the wall in the back. See how beautiful that looks? They did that. Um, my pest service is through BNI. I don't know how
Mhm.
to find a good pest service, but everybody recommended this person, and so they do my marketing. I told you I don't like marketing. The person who does
Mhm.
my marketing is in BNI, and every once in a while I do try to get a shave, and the person who's the person who gives me a shave is through BNI. So a lot of the things that I do are through BNI because again I can trust those individuals, and if not, I could ask somebody, "Have you used them?" And 15 people have used them before, and I
Mhm.
trust that. But okay, so we're going on about all the great things and everything is just not great in this world, Corey. So there are people that come into BNI and sometimes they don't do well. So
Mhm.
and they may have a conversation with you because
Mhm.
of who you are. So if someone comes in and says, "Corey, look, I paid the money and I thought I was going to get 15,000 referrals and I haven't gotten them. What's going on?" What do you tell that person?
So first we just do a look into what they've given. We lead givers gain is our founding principle. So we'll pull up because that is the beauty of BNI is, we have what we call our slips and things like that. So data that people put into our database. So how many one-to-ones have you done? One-to-ones are truly the magic in BNI because that's when you really get to know each other. The meetings are really more for visitors, but we have the same 20-point agenda at any meeting you go to. But really, it's about, are you getting to know people and are you educating people on what you need? I've gone to meetings and, I think that the chiropractor is like, if you have a spine, I want to, you're my client. I was like, oh, that's cute, but it's not memorable. Like, you really need to be specific. So we just kind of do a deep dive. Let me hear your weekly presentation. Let me hear what you're asking your chapter for. Is it vague? I've listened to people and I say, I still don't know what you do. Like, it's confusing. So if I'm confused, just imagine, and I listen to, hundreds of presentations, and if I don't know what you're doing, then your chapter members don't either. So you also have to do your part. And then sometimes I tell people like it's how you're communicating because sometimes depending on certain industries in their head this makes perfect sense. But in like layman's term or regular people's,
Mm,
conversations, I have no idea. I have no idea what that is, and I don't know who you want to talk to. So be specific. And usually that's when we get down to, all right, let me hear your presentation. Okay, you might want to fine tune here, be specific, give a story. What problems do you solve? What are some key words I should listen for that could indicate a potential referral for you? Then they can kind of course correct at that point. Or
yeah.
not. Like I said, some people are like, I don't want to attend something every week. Well, no worries. It's not, when I did radio, I had clients paying $5,000, $6,000 a month. They didn't have to go visit anything. If you put a billboard on 77, You're gonna pay $8,000 $9,000 for it, but you don't have to go visit it, you don't have to talk to it, you don't have to have coffee or, tell whatever, you just hope it's gonna do what you want it to do. So, to me, BNI is a low cost entry form of marketing, but it's also the work. So you're attending the meetings and, you're putting forth the time into a relationship. Relationships take time, and not everyone we live in a microwave society, and they want it quick
Mm.
and immediate, and I joined, where are my referrals? Well, no one knows you. It doesn't matter. I want them, so it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and absolutely. There was somebody, and I won't say their name because you know them very well, but they at one meeting when they was giving their presentation, they said something totally different, which I think a lot of people say the same thing every
Mhm,
week after week after week, and I'm thinking, okay, nobody's referring to you, but you keep
mhm,
saying the same stuff. Maybe you need to switch it up.
yeah,
But he said something that I thought was very interesting. He said, "A good referral for me is anybody that has a sign out front of their house that
mhm.
says for sale." And I'm taking a walk that day, and all of a sudden, I'm writing down
Yes,
number after number for this guy.
yep,
And I sent him like 3 referrals that day. And I'm
yeah,
sure he must have got 15, 20 referrals. I don't know how much business he did off of that, but those are the things like you have to be, we try to be general, like you said, anybody has a back, I'm your guy. Like
mhm,
that doesn't work. So,
yep.
um, any other
Gotta make it
tips?
sticky. See, that made it sticky for you. When you
Yeah,
make it sticky, it's memorable. And sometimes we get into that scarcity mindset of, oh, I need to tell you all the things that I do because maybe something, but you need to think from abundance and that there is plenty of work for everyone. So let me be specific. Let me say I'm looking for pregnant women. I'm looking for people with small children. I'm looking for
right.
um, you know, get really nailed down and get more niche, and you get more referrals that way, because you see how, I bet you, if he had said anyone that wants to sell their house, you're like, oh, I don't know. But once soon as he said for sale, if it's a FISBO, then you start seeing him some particular activation. You start seeing him left and right. And so then we had a signs guy in a chapter, and he said, if you see a sign, like if you're driving at night and you see missing lights, like you can only, the you don't see the letter. He's like, I would love that. Does count as a referral to me. Take a picture. Tell me the location. That's more. That's better. Think about all the different people driving all around town. He's like, I could never get out to all those places, but having 30 other eyes looking for those signs for me, that is perfect. That is what he
Mhm.
was looking for. And I was like, oh, that's easy to look for a sign. But if you just said, anyone that has a building that maybe needs new signage, I don't know who needs new signage,
Yeah.
but I can see that letter is out in that, in that building right there. So I need to let that person know.
When I used to coach a lot of my sales clients, I used to tell them if you try to make people think too much, they won't. The financial advisors say, "Who do you want?" I'm looking for anybody with money. Everybody got money. That's too much. So make it a little bit more sticky, as you said, and
Yeah.
you will get really great results. But let's get back to this one to one because you mentioned it a couple of times. Tell me some things about the one to one that makes it important for you, but also some things that you should be doing in the one to one to make it more beneficial for you as a member of BNI.
So I look at one to ones, they're referral strategy sessions. So you should leave a one to one always asking the five most important words in BNI, which are, how can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I help you grow? And then if you're taking the time to truly listen, we've all been like distracted and like you're doing other things and you're listening, but kind of thinking about what you're going to do for dinner tonight or what's happening this weekend or different things like that. But if you're intentional and truly listening, what can I do for you? Just like you said, that's like the guy with the sign. It'll pop out. It'll pop out in your head if you're listening for keywords. I tell members to give people, what problems do you solve? So that way, when I hear someone complaining, because people often like either brag about something, oh, I just got a great promotion, or, we just bought a huge new house. Oh, you're going to need landscaping. You're going to need pest control. You're going to need, this type of thing, possibly paint. Or if it's complaining, oh, whatever they're complaining about, do you have a solution for that? So being intentional in your one-to-ones of what problems do you solve, and then what are some key words or phrases I should listen for, and automatically you will come to mind. And so if you ask people that and leave that's more effective than you just kinda chit-chatting for, like, an hour. You talked about the kids, talked about family. I still don't know how I can help you grow your business. So, just I would say going back to my word of intentional, like, make it a true power session. In that time, I should leave knowing what your goals are, how I can help you, and what problems you solve. And that's with any business, minded conversation, you should leave with, ideally, like I said, giver's gain is not natural for not everyone. And so as a BNI member, it's, you're taught we lead by giving. So how can you help that person? And it'll again, abundance mindset. It'll come back to you. It's enough business for everyone.
Yeah, that's important because there was somebody I visited their chapter a couple of times, and this is one gentleman. Every time he did his presentation, I would say, "But what does he do?" Like I had no idea the title of his company didn't give it away,
Mhm. Yeah,
and so I'm like,
that
"What?"
happens so much.
So I said to him, I said, let's do a 1-to-1. And I said, because I think it's an interesting title. I just want to know more. And we did a 1-to-1 and he explained it to me. And I was like, oh, now I get it. And I said, can I give you some advice? You may want to change because I don't think nobody gets it. And
Mhm.
hopefully he changed it. I need to ask him one day, but I just didn't get it. But
Yeah.
when we had the 1-to-1, it made sense. And it was a great business. And I think
Mhm.
he was losing value because it's a great business. Um, but I don't think everybody understood from the way he was explaining it what it actually was. So let's wrap this up with success.
Mhm.
Success for BNI, success for a member means like, how do we get that? Because there's a lot of people having
Mhm.
success. So what are some of the things that they're doing in networking to create success for themselves?
Well, the company as a whole, like our goal is to really make things a lot easier for our members, like one different app, they can track their data. But for members individually, I tell them, what are your goals? Like success is what you define. Is success one new client? Is your success scaling? So now you're taking on employees. Is your success building it so that you can sell it and retire? What does success mean? I know that's yes, here we go. But what does success mean? And then how can we help you get there? And so that's, like I said, I feel like that's what differentiates BNI from other groups is, like I said, I truly want your success to be what you've defined it as. Like I said, for some it varies. For some it is, I just want to be able to pay my employees. Okay, well, what does that look like? How many new clients? Maybe you need to look at your pricing. Get a great business coach that can help you figure out how to truly scale, or you know again, looking at pricing or things like that. So really looking at it as the member and looking at their business as a whole, and what is it that you're trying to do and how can we help you get there. And I truly feel like BNI is the way to do that because it's the world's largest networking
Yes.
referral organization. So we don't take that for granted that it's in so many countries and expanding so much. Like the average chapter size in like India, it's like 200 something
Wow.
members. And so it's a global, it started 42 years ago in California from Dr. Meisner, who he lost his key client. That's how BNI started. He was a business coach and lost his key client. He said, all right, let's gather some people around. Let's try to help each other. And now it's grown, to this 42 years later. So,
That's an amazing success story there. Um, wow. How many in India?
oh, that's the average chapter size. I mean, they have huge chapters, but talk about an abundance mindset. Like I have some chapters now. Oh no, we're getting too big. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like just so you know, that largest chapter in the US is in Columbia, South
Right.
Carolina. They have, yeah, more than 180 members, but it's abundance. It's, yeah, we do things similarly, but I'm going to stay in this lane, you stay in this lane, and we're going to work well together. It's not like a competitive type thing. It's, again, we're operating in abundance and not scarcity. So I feel like if we all thought more in abundance instead of scarcity, that we'd be a lot further along. Our businesses would succeed more.
So I've learned a few things. I've learned the word intentional. That's very, very important. I learned the word lead is not very, very important. So we won't be using that word anymore. But I want to ask you a few questions. And what I want you to do, Corey, I just want you to think very, very quickly and give me the first thought out your mind. And remember, this is for PG rated, so be careful now. What do you feel is your top quality, skill, or characteristic in the business area?
Connection.
Is there one thing that you feel you would like to be able to do better?
Parent my teenagers.
And now I have granddaughter that's a teenager. So when you learn, let me know.
Well,
Yeah, it's you see all this white beard? That's from her. Um, an entrepreneurial mindset to me means what?
I would say growth in your terms, on your terms.
On your terms. One thing that keeps me going hard every day is
My motivation.
what
I
motivates you?
am self-motivated.
Mm.
So I don't need, like, even though I was a cheerleader, I don't need that rah-rah. I am self-motivated person.
You know, it's funny because I used to teach this class on motivation. And we would talk about being internally motivated and externally motivated. And I would talk, and a lot of people would say, well, what does that mean? And when I explain what it means, and I would always ask the question, kind of because I'm curious, which do you feel is better? And everybody would say internally motivated. And I said, and I asked why. And I would come back with the question, is one really better than the other? If the goal is to do this and you're motivated in some way to do it, is one way of you getting there better than the other. And it's really about thought.
Yeah.
But when I look at the internally motivated people, the thing that concerns me about internally motivated people is internally motivated people sometimes go so hard that they kind of burn out. Not all of them, but a lot do.
Yeah.
And the externally motivated people, the fear around them is it's great, but if you run out of things to externally motivate them, will they still go hard? And so I think they all have their plus and minuses. I think the key is what is it that motivates you, and ensure you're doing that. And if you know what motivates you, I think that's great. But I'm going to ask you this. If you had one meal to eat for a month, I'm not going to say for the rest of your life because nobody wants to do that. But you had to eat one meal for a month. What would that meal be?
Oh, salmon and mixed vegetables all day long.
Wow, you picked mines.
What is that? We need to go to lunch.
That's crazy. Because the only thing I eat is salmon for the most part. So it would have to be salmon for me. So that's pretty crazy. So I would say, Corey, the last thing I'm going to say is, I hope you're sitting down. Because I don't pay you compliments, but it's the last one. No, but I always, one of the things, and I think I've said it before, the thing that amazes me for you is that, like, people could be motivated, people could be passionate, people could be energetic, and I think that there's cycles in that. I mean, there's an up and down factor in that. I've never seen you. You're always
it's
here.
Because you don't see me daily.
It must be, but you're always on 10. Like your passion, and I think as far as business is concerned, I got to believe that that's one of the things that makes you successful, because I think people connect to passion, and I think they see that in you. So have you heard that before?
Oh, yes. My husband's like, how do you wake up like this? I'm like, I don't know, but it's going to be a great day. So I feel like my positive, which that's another core value, is positive attitude, that my positive attitude and outlook, does well. And like I said, I truly want to see people succeed. So I am intentional in conversations and how I can help people. And And not everyone's that way. It's not always
Yeah.
met with oh, you're great. Sometimes it's like, really, you do so much. I'm like, I do. I love it. I can't help it. So yeah.
Corey, don't tell me you wake up every day like that. Your poor husband.
He's an introvert. He's like, oh my goodness.
I know him. So
And look, we're going on 19 years, so it's
he's
good. He's hanging in
he's
there.
no, he's amazing. Okay, I'm just gonna say he's amazing. No, but seriously, so the 5 words, how can I help you? I got it.
Yeah.
I remember that. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
Thank
It's been a
you.
pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the Business Moves Blueprint.
My pleasure. Bye.